Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Tuesday, June the 10th, 2025, the 161st day of the year, 10 days away from the official start of summer and its National Iced Tea Day, which is synonymous, of course, with a hot summer day, unless you live in the South, where sweet tea is just a part of everyday life. Topping the headlines this Tuesday, chaos continuing in California overnight. If you've seen any of the videos and social media posts of the truck that pulled up with the boxes and boxes of gas masks and face shields for the rioters, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Trade talks continuing between the United States and China in London today, and President Trump is headed to Fort Bragg in North Carolina to kick off the celebration of the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary on Saturday, which will feature a huge parade in D.C. Saturday, coinciding with the president's 79th birthday. He also authorized the deployment of another 2,000 National Guard troops and a few hundred Marines to Los Angeles. We're going to start it off here with Newsmax senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano on the legalities of President Trump's crackdown in L.A. and California Governor Gavin Newsom's attempt to sue the president, or at least his threat to sue the president.
Judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Here we go, Judge.
All right, so we have a couple of sources of authority here. The Constitution clearly says the president is commander-in-chief of the state militia, today the National Guard, when it is addressing an insurrection or rebellion. The Insurrection Act of 1807 says the same thing. The Posse Comitatus Act, basically the Latin phrase for the power of the county, the power of the local government, says the military cannot be used for ordinary law enforcement unless requested by the governor of the state. So you have these various laws that are a little inconsistent here. Can the president call in the National Guard when when federal assets are at stake? Yes, that's the reason for calling them in. What are the federal assets? The ICE people, the human beings on the ground, are being attacked. Are National Guard trained to do law enforcement? No, they're not. They don't know how to arrest. They don't know what to do when arrested. So their basic role is to be backup to ICE, who are trained about who to arrest and how to arrest. Can Gavin Newsom sue? Well, anybody can sue for anything. I don't think he's going to prevail here. I don't think he'll find a federal judge anywhere in California who will enjoin what the president just did. All you have to do is look on the television, as we've been showing all morning. It's obvious that a great amount of force is needed to quell this disaster.
Although if you're probably a liberal judge, you're not watching this network, so you're not seeing that. You're hearing peaceful protests. Okay, so now this is where it could get tricky, though. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said he's got about 300 Marines on standby if the violence continues, active duty Marines. That's different than the National Guard and could involve Posse Comitatus. I had to say it because I teased that I would try to say Latin.
Right.
Basically prohibits,
you pronounced it properly.
Thank you. Which basically prohibits active duty forces from enforcing domestic law.
I'm going to assume, knowing the Secretary of Defense from our prior work together, he was just trying to send a message. He knows the law. It would be absolutely and profoundly unlawful for the Marines to come in. They also are not trained in law enforcement, and it would be not only unlawful for them to do it, it would be dangerous for them and dangerous for the people in the streets. Look, the purpose here is to use federal assets to preserve law and order and peace in the streets in a time, place, and manner where the state is unable to do so. Gavin Newsom says, you didn't give us enough time. No judge is going to second-guess the president on this. There will be lawsuits. Here's an example. Somebody will be arrested by the military, and then they'll be prosecuted. And the lawyer will say, well, it was an unlawful arrest because the president didn't have the authority to have the military arrest us. And then a judge will resolve us. Not today, not tomorrow, but months from now when that person is charged.
And typically in situations, and I remember back during the George Floyd riots, even when the president threatened to use or to bring in the military to help restore peace, it was mostly in a support function. So you still have National Guard, you still have police, sheriffs, others out there doing the frontline police work that are being supported logistically.
You're 100% correct. And actually, if you talk to law enforcement, that's what they want. They don't want the troops on the very front line because they're not trained, as I said, as law enforcement people. You want them as backup. You want their physical presence there to deter the rioters. You don't want their force used against the rioters. That's the optimum use of the troops.
So this is not going to be a good thing for Gavin if he tries to sue, probably. Real quick.
I don't think so. And I don't think Tom Homan's going to arrest Gavin Newsom either.
No, because even if he's saying...
Well, he's not committing a crime.
You've got to actually physically obstruct.
Correct.
Yes, neither of them are doing it right now. They're just incompetent.
Correct. His freedom of speech is protected just like yours and mine.
There we go.
Judge Andrew Napolitano on Wake Up America with Mark Lauder. President Trump told ABC News that he would arrest Newsom if he could, just for being a terrible governor.
I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job.
Newsom later posted on X that Donald Trump admits he will arrest a sitting governor simply because he ran for office. More from Newsmax host Carl Higbie.
This all started because ICE raided a worker station at the Home Depot that was harboring and assisting illegals, many with criminal records. Psst, that's a crime.
We didn't cause this. I mean, this reaction is not normal. We are enforcing the law as written.
Yeah, and you would think someone in Congress would know that it's actually the president's job to do this. Here, look, don't take my word for it. He, the president, shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. But nope, not Mr. I'm writing a book about my 24-hour filibuster.
But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the president of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion by arresting people who are showing up for their immigration hearings, who are trying to abide by the law. He's arresting them.
Dude, like, the city is literally burning. This is not even close to peaceful. And Gavin Newsom, he's the worst. I guess his run to the center in hopes of a presidential bid is pretty much over at this point. He seems more concerned about the criminals than law and order.
Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So, Tom, arrest me.
Okay, Tom, oblige this man. I mean, really? This is. You're saying, Gavin, that this is for your community? Is this community right here? Armando Ordaz, one of the guys that was picked up, convicted of sexual battery, receiving stolen property and theft. Or Chong Chang Fang, convicted of second-degree murder. Well, how about Rolando Enriquez, convicted of sexual penetration with a foreign object? Who knows what that was? Assault with intent to rape and burglary. I mean, great community to defend there, Gavin. You're on the wrong side of a 90-10 issue again. And the same guy calling for federal law enforcement officers a bunch of thugs for arresting people remember when Gavin Newsom sent federal agents to interview children without their parents, children at elementary schools to rat out teachers who didn't follow his mask edict? Thanks, Gavin. You guys absolutely applauded when governors like Tim Walz, you guys are criticizing the National Guard. Tim Walz activated the National Guard in his home state to shoot people in the face with paintball guns who were sitting on their own porch on their own property during COVID. You'd rather criticize the people you put on the front lines to defend the community than the illegals that broke the laws to get here and continued to do so when they did. Many of whom already had committed crimes, and almost all of which were picked up with already deportation orders. These cops, these guardsmen, and now, reportedly, the 500 additional Marines that Pete Hegseth apparently activated, and whoever else ended up going there, they have to put their helmets and bulletproof vests on to go to work on streets of American cities. Because you, Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, basically every other Democrat out there, have failed to enforce even the most basic laws. Anybody surprised by this? Like, who saw this coming in California, right? You've sat idly by while stores get I mean, hell, you guys basically made it legal to steal anything under $1,000 in value. And you're somehow mad Why? Because burglars, rapists, and murderers are actually getting rounded up by the federal government to get them the hell out of our communities? That's a good thing. I feel for these officers. And the other thing, too, as a military dude, like, what point do these cops have to consider, like, hey, it's time to use lethal force? Simple question that I would pose to any one of the Democrats in opposition of these ICE raids, any of the people that are saying these protests are mostly peaceful. Here's a question, Gavin. If someone was about to huck a brick at your husband, your wife, your father, your mother, your son, your daughter, would you draw your weapon? I mean, I definitely would, without hesitation. So why are our law enforcement officers being forced to stand under overpasses like that while they're being shot with paintballs and having Molotov cocktails thrown at them and bricks dropped on their head? What happens when one of these officers gets killed? What are you going to, seriously, what are you going to say to the family? Let's game this out. Sorry, we told them to act like sitting ducks? At what point do you tell officers to shoot someone that might kill you?
Carl Higbie is the host of Frontline, 5 o'clock Eastern on Newsmax. This morning, LA's Mayor Karen Bass still insisting that her people have everything under control.
LAPD and the surrounding cities that come together, the sheriffs, the California Highway Patrol, they are able to take control of this situation.
Greg Kelly, host of Greg Kelly Reports, talked about the lack of leadership from Mayor Bass, Governor Newsom, and others in California.
We know leadership when we see it, and we certainly know when it's lacking. California, state and local people, their officials cannot lead. They have fried their brains on wokeness, political correctness, Trump derangement syndrome. Take these things full. They don't have the skill, the talent, they're not practiced. They just spend all of their time being irate about stupid stuff. They can't quell this. The cops are great, but they need augmentation and they need support of the political leaders. And it's too late if you start supporting them in the middle of the crisis. You got to be there every step of the way. You can't demonize law enforcement for years, talk about defunding the police, right? And then suddenly expect everything to be okay. Things are not okay in California. It's really incredible. And I think we have an example of what I would call attempted murder. This maniac throwing big rocks at law enforcement as they go by. Pump up the volume. There is a lawlessness in Los Angeles. It is out of control. And we can make these assessments, yes, by watching television. We can. And I'll show you actually how the left says this is the way to make the assessment. This is the way to make the decision. Have you seen all the Mexican flags, by the way? What's that all about? I mean, all right, most of you have fled Mexico for various reasons. Now you're celebrating Mexico while you're here illegally and burning the American flag. If you want to be here so bad, you know, it just doesn't, it's not making sense. It's not logical. Then again, rioters, right? When are they going to be logical? I have noticed in the coverage, haven't heard the word rioter all that much. I hear demonstrator, I hear protester, I hear peaceful protester, but you see the images and I see the images, and you know that California can't lead its way out of this, not with Gavin Newsom at the helm. In the midst of this crisis, drop the banner, please. Gavin Newsom is doing podcasts with some podcast bro. That's Gavin Newsom in a room somewhere by himself, nobody else, just that dude and a microphone. He doesn't know what to do. He can't do anything. All he's been doing is combing his hair and brushing his teeth for all these years and watching his weight. It is beyond pathetic. And he's feeling it. You know, notice there's nobody else in the room. This is the operations center, right? Where is everybody? Can I see? Take it full one more time, and you can tell. All right? It's like, oh boy, I can only fool. He is hating his life some right now. You can only fool people for so long, and his act has worn thin a long, long time ago.
Good stuff as always from Greg Kelly. Catch Greg Kelly Reports tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern. Border Czar Tom Homan, who is in the crosshairs of all of this, stepped away from the front lines to speak with our Greta Van Susteren yesterday.
You and the governor of California are going a little bit back and forth. President Trump said that if he were you, he would arrest the governor. And the governor says, you know, have at it, come arrest me. I don't know what you'd arrest him for, but do you have any sort of thought on this back and forth that you're having with the governor?
No, you know, I never said I was going to arrest the governor. I interviewed to NBC News. What I said was, the protesters, if anybody crosses the line, they can protest. They have the First Amendment rights. But if they cross that line and impede federal law enforcement officers, if they assault federal law enforcement officers, if they knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien, that's a felony, we would prosecute. The reporter asked me, does the same go for Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom? I said it goes for anybody, including them. If they cross the line and commit a crime, they should be prosecuted like anybody else. They've been saying for 4 years, no one's above the law, either are they.
What sort of not started this, but one of the things is that the ICE raids to try to find people who are illegally in this country seems to have been in part what started this back on Friday. Do you have any expectations to do raids in the Los Angeles area in the next 3 days to look for people here illegally in this country?
Yeah, we're doing it today. We'll do it tomorrow. We're going to do it every day. We're going to do our job. ICE agents are out there across L.A. and across neighboring communities. We're operating across every city in this country, and we're going to be doing it every day, as we promised. We've increased the resources on the streets. We've increased the targeting. We are looking for, you know, people in the country legally that we're going to prioritize public safety threats and national security threats, but we're out there doing the job, and we're going to keep doing the job. And as I said many times, sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. We're going to flood the zone. If we can't arrest a criminal ending the safety and security of the jail, and they're going to release them in the community, that means we got to send whole teams to look for these people because of officer safety concerns. So we got to increase resources to do that. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're out there again today. We got over 100 teams in the LA area out looking for illegal and public safety threats.
You've obviously got the National Guard that the president has federalized. You've got the Marines. You've got ICE. What about local law enforcement? Are they cooperating and helping you or not?
They are now. I mean, they were slow to respond for the first couple of nights, but right now they have a job to do. They got to maintain public safety. They got to control, not crowd control. The protesters can protest, but then you got those protesters who quickly become criminals because they want to throw rocks at officers. They want to throw Molotov cocktails. They want to assault our officers. You know, in Los Angeles PD, they just step on the head. They did a great job last night. Their job is public safety. Our job's enforce immigration law. And like I said, the National Guard's there to protect property and our officers' safety, which is we talk about resources, was another reason we need a big, beautiful bill. We need to pass it. That gives ICE more resources, give us more beds, give us more transportation so we can go arrest these public safety threats more efficiently and quicker. We need that funding passed. It's also going to add to the border wall. We got a great border. We got the most secure border in the lifetime of this nation. However, we got to finish it. We got to make those advancements permanent. We need more border wall. We need technology to that wall. We need technology at the port of entries. Congress needs to step up and fund us. ICE is vastly understaffed. That's why we have help from all these other agencies out there. We got over 20 million illegal aliens in the United States at a minimum. We got less than 5,000 deportation officers. So Congress, you need to pass that big, beautiful bill so we get this work done more efficiently.
That is Borders Czar Tom Homan on the record with Greta Van Susteren. Oh, yeah, the one big, beautiful bill. Remember that? All of a sudden, that's on the back burner of the news cycle, right? That's how quickly things move. Utah Congressman Burgess Owens, who lived in California when he played for the Oakland Raiders, stopped by Newsmax to talk about the one big, beautiful bill and the situation in California.
Burgess Owens, he is a Utah congressman. He joins us now in studio. You watched this all play out on Sunday. Were you surprised by what's happening there and sort of the back and forth between the administration and the leaders in California?
Well, it is L.A., and the only surprise is they have not gotten the memo yet that those days of BLM riots are done with, the days of chaos, destruction are over with. We have a new sheriff in town, and I think the American people are very excited about seeing how this plays out. Mm-hmm. We're going to get enforcement in. We're going to hold people accountable for those who decide they want to attack and demean. And so it's going to be a good day in America to finally see that we've turned that corner for sure.
So left wing pushing this narrative that this was peaceful, but I mean, we saw these cars that were burned. We saw the flags were burned as well. There were people looting stores, riots. What do you make? I mean, why will they not?
This is why the Democrats lost the way they did and why they're going to lose the next term. What they're telling us is American people don't believe your lying eyes. We're done. We're done with this. We went through the 4 years of chaos, of realizing what can happen if we give the power of the people who really don't care about the American people. So we're ready to move forward. The upside about President Trump is the message and the trifecta we got. We have a message of hope, of optimism, of what we can do best, bringing jobs back to our country, make sure we're safe. We're going to let the American dream thrive. And I'm excited about being part of that process. And I'm excited about American people realizing that the leftist, the Democratic Party is not for us.
Yeah. Right now, Republicans have got the majorities in the House, Senate, and of course the White House here. And with that, the president wants his agenda passed. That takes us to the big, beautiful bill, which now falls with the Senate here. Pressure's off a little bit from the House and your fellow colleagues here. But let's take a look at how it's covered by some in the mainstream media here and how much it might cost. According to data released by the White House, it could actually be the largest deficit cut in U.S. history. So that's interesting here, even higher than past attempts to cut it, including the Balanced Budget Act of 1997. So you're going back in time a bit there. Do you think this happens in the Senate? Can everyone come to an agreement?
It's going to happen. And of course, we can go to the details, talk about how good it is. It is a great package. The most important thing is the culture that's been established by President Trump. I can't say that enough. I've been there before. Al Davis back in the old days before you guys were around had the same kind of culture. You can be all different. You can be crazy as long as you step your foot on the field and you played the game the way the coach and the owner wanted. And that's what we're having right now. We have a culture that is all about winning. It's following the lead. The mandate of President Trump has been given, and I'm excited about being part of it. We're doing some things now, losing 1 or 2 votes. In the past, we've never, as a conference, done that before, because we're finally beginning to realize we have to work as a team. We have to be strategic and trust in the leadership we have that's going to get us through that process.
Former NFL player and Utah Republican Burgess Owens on National Report. Yes, he also played for the New York Jets. 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 Trust in the leadership, he said, bringing us full circle to what Greg Kelly was talking about. And he said earlier, California needs to know there's a new sheriff in town. Yeah, no kidding. California, the rest of the country, and the world is finding out there's a new sheriff in the USA. By the way, there was a peaceful immigration protest in Dallas last night. And when the crowd wouldn't leave and started to become unpeaceful, Dallas police quickly used tear gas and fired on the crowd with rubber bullets. Guess what happened? They went home. And those that didn't were arrested. That's Texas compared to California. You're not going to play that crap in Texas. Or here in Florida, for that fact. And by the way, I used to live in the great city of Dallas, the great state of Texas. And in New Jersey, it's Primary Tuesday as the Garden State holds its gubernatorial primary today to succeed Democrat Phil Murphy, who is being term limited out of office. To give you a pulse on what's to come in next year's midterms, check this out. There are 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans facing off to replace Governor Murphy in what has already become one of the most expensive non-presidential races in history. More than $120 million combined already spent, according to the New Jersey Elections Law Enforcement Commission. This is the primary. Wait until the actual race gets going. Representative Mickey Sherrill, a former Navy pilot and mother, leads the Democratic ticket. Former state assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli, endorsed by President Trump, leads the Republican ticket. And HHS Secretary Robert Bobby Kennedy Jr. has terminated all 17 members of the CDC Advisory Board, which makes recommendations on vaccine schedules. So the left and the media making a big deal about it. While the Democrats try to instill fear in everyone, Kennedy said he will appoint new members to the board to help restore public trust in the CDC. On Wall Street, stocks were slightly green, again, as trade talks with China continue as we speak. Bitcoin and most other cryptocurrencies are higher as well, and at the time of this recording, Bitcoin was again pushing $110,000. Ethereum up over $27.50, XRP up just a penny at $2.31. So this afternoon, President Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will be speaking at Fort Bragg near Fayetteville, North Carolina. If you're in that area, be ready for the traffic. The Fort Bragg base was initially named for Confederate General Braxton Bragg, changed to Fort Liberty by the Biden administration in 2023. And then earlier this year, Defense Secretary Hegseth changed the name back to Fort Bragg, but in honor of Army PFC Roland Bragg and not in honor of General Bragg. So you can see today's event at Fort Bragg and keep up with the rest of the news on Newsmax, N2, and at Newsmax.com. Also, make sure you're streaming on Newsmax Plus for all your favorite shows, hosts, and guests, and that you have the Newsmax app so you can stay up to date anywhere, anytime. It all starts each and every day with Wake Up America, followed by National Report, Newsline with Bianca De La Garza, American Agenda, Chris Salcedo, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt tonight, Finnerty, Greg Kelly, The Right Squad, and much, much more. I'm Tony Marino. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Taco Tuesday, maybe with some iced tea. Pay attention and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.